In this presentation, I'm going to be talking about how to gain UX UI design experience without internships. All right. So number one is you gain experience with fake client briefs. You come up with ideas for your own apps or software. And now by fake client briefs, I'm talking about, fake projects that you could take from step one, go all the way through until like step Z of the design process, build out the entire project like to your standards, and then use that as, proof of experience, a case study and all that, so that so you build your experience, so you're not left with just kind of like projects that you did in your boot camp and now you have like 2 of them or 3 of them or maybe even 1 of them, and now you're trying to get a job and nobody takes you seriously because you only have like 1 project and you have like 0 job experience, like as far as like your resume goes. So that doesn't look really good. So come up and create your own app and your own software, but don't claim that like, oh, this is a passion project, or oh, this is me having fun. You don't need to say that. You don't need to explain that in your case study. You don't need to explain that to anybody. Just, you're the only person that needs to know that, okay? So use practice client briefs and treat them like real projects, exactly like before. So a fake client brief is kind of like maybe like a like AI generated or some other client brief website. I have a big, huge list of UX client briefs, UI client briefs, and I'll share the link in the description of, in the description of this episode, this video, this podcast, whatever you're listening to. And then, you just go through those. You read the client brief, you do the whole entire design process. So you're gonna go through the entire design process. You're gonna document everything you do. You're not half-assing anything. You're actually gonna practice this by doing real, serious, quality work. So treat this as if like this is a client. This is a job that you're doing, and you have like a project manager or a senior breathing down your neck, critiquing everything. You're gonna take it super, super seriously. You're gonna focus on every tiny little detail. Do this with a fake client brief. Put so much effort into it and make it perfect. Make it immaculate. Make it like absolutely like the perfect kind of example of your entire design process. Like everything that you can do, throw it into this to make it as like just really as perfect and credible and serious as possible. So then once you do that, once you create, go through the design process, creating these fake client briefs, you're going to create a super detailed case studies. So you don't need to mention that it's not a real client. Exactly like I said before, you're gonna take this project, you're gonna take it seriously, whether this is your own passion project or like that you wanted to work on, or if this is a generated fake client brief. You do that, you're gonna put your heart into it, you're gonna do it fully, 100% full design process, document everything, put every single tiny little detail into your portfolio and into a case study. And then you don't have to mention that, oh, this was a practice case study. Oh, this was a case study that I came up with. You don't need to say that. You don't need to say a single thing like that, any of that. In fact, you can come up with a business name, come up with a name for your app, and that made up name for that app, that is business experience. That is work experience. That is a real client, right? So just think about this. If a startup came up to you and was like, hey, we need a UX UI designer. A startup goes and messages you. They're like, hey, we need a designer. Are you willing to like design our app or our software for us? And you're like, oh heck yeah, you're eager. You want work. You want to do something. You want to get your foot in the door. So you go and design the entire app. You put all your heart into it. You do it perfectly. The whole entire like 9 yards design process, right? And then you would take that and you'd be like, oh yeah, this is like resume worthy. This is work I've done. Like I'm not so incredibly junior that I have no experience. This is my experience. I've worked with a startup. I've worked with a company. I've done XYZ projects and XYZ tasks, right? And you would say that in your portfolio. And you would say that in your resume. What makes that company different from your own fake client, your own personal project? Like realistically, the only thing that's differentiates you and them is literally a domain name. If you were to buy it, if you were to do a project and then buy the domain name for like flipping $3, set that domain name up to like a simple landing page, like literally like an opt-in page for an email list. So like once we launch we'll send you emails or whatever about how to get the product type things, like that kind of a thing. That legitimizes the hell out of it. That turns your made up client brief, your made up project for like your passion project, into a company, into an actual business. Because that's literally what a business is they have a domain name that they own. Dude, LinkedIn job experience right there. Okay, and that sets you apart from somebody who has never worked in the UX field to somebody who is now the lead designer for this hip new startup for this app that you created, right? That's job experience. Put that into your portfolio. Make it real. Make it a real thing, right? Don't go and do free internships for a company where they're basically just gonna like have you flipping design a color palette and then tell you like 9 times that it's not that good and to redo it, and then just have you like redesign our website and then be like, oh cool, that's really neat, now delete it, we don't really need that, and just have you doing just stupid meaningless tasks. Be your own business and create your own intern experience. If you're not getting paid to be an intern, might as well not get paid, but create your own project where you could really put a lot of work into it, where it becomes like, yeah, I have all this experience, instead of it being like, oh, I have an internship and like you really didn't do anything design. You like have like this tiny itsy bitsy amount of actual experience that can be like brought up and questioned. Like, oh, you just like worked on a single card for their website, that's all you did. Okay, that's not a whole lot of experience. Versus your own project that you created, and then doing all like the whole wireframes and the user flows, and you branded it, dude. You did all the usability testing and talking to people and all this, every single like whole 9 years. Be like, oh dang, wow, so you know the design process, you've done a whole lot of work. You see, that stands out a whole heck of a lot more on like your portfolio or your resume or just job experience in general than, hey, I was an intern at flipping some startup that, you know, really didn't do anything. You can't really attest to anything that you did. Okay, so tangent over, moving forward. So next is way to get experience besides internships is freelance work. Real client freelance work. Don't do work for free. Make sure that you're charging for what you're worth. Exactly like the same exact scenario before. A startup comes up to you and was like, hey, we want you to design our app. That is a client, right? That's freelance work. But the thing people don't really think about freelance work is they think, oh, I'm gonna go design this website or this app or this software or this design or this branding or something for this company. And then what the mistake that most people run into and do is they end up putting that like in their resume or on their LinkedIn or on their portfolio or wherever, saying I was a freelancer for 2 years. Okay, most people when they hear, oh, I was a freelancer for like a bunch of years, it's basically like, oh, I was unemployed, right? That's not true. That's not true. You're like being an entrepreneur, you're doing your own thing. You're cutting out your own road. You're digging out your own road and path that you're going to go down. If you're trying to get like a position or a job or something like that, they don't see it that way. Like everyone throws freelancing on their resume as like, oh, filler job experience. Now, here's another way to approach this. If a business, right, if a small business, a startup, company, anything, some sort of business comes up to you, whatever, or like you come up to them, and they want to do work with you. They say, oh, I want you to design like the wireframes for this project. Okay, cool. Guess what that business has? Exactly what I said in my earlier point. Dude, they have a business name. They got their website, their social medias or whatever. They got their domain name. They have a business name. So it's a business, right? Now, when you go and do work for that client, you are working for that business. On your resume, you would put that you were a designer for that business. On your portfolio, you're going to say that this was this business's project. This was your client that you were working with. On your resume, you're going to put like that you worked for this business. On your LinkedIn, you're going to put that you worked for this business because you worked for that business. You weren't just a freelancer. You were working for that business and you were doing work for them. So don't sell yourself short. Like if you've had you've had a total of 3 or 4 freelance projects, put all 3 or 4 of those into your resume. Put all 3 or 4 of those into your LinkedIn experience. This way, you're not looking like a complete junior. You look like a flipping beast that's just hustling, getting tons and tons of work done. getting tons of contract clients. Okay, so instead of throwing just the word freelancing for the last 2 years, put each individual client that you did work for into that experience. Don't work for free. You know, if you're freelancing and like you're doing projects for somebody, like if they're gonna ask you to design their website for free or their app or their software for free, they are taking advantage of you. They know that you're junior and like they're cheap, and that's not the type of people and the clients that you want to be working with. So if you're freelancing and you're getting work for a website or an app or a software, dude, you charge what you believe you're worth. And this comes down to a whole nother level of like, oh, but I have imposter syndrome, I don't know my worth. Like, we'll talk about that in later episodes. Like, you think about it this way: how long are you gonna be putting in the work to like build this project? You know, how long is it going to take you to, you know, design this app or design this software? Like, oh, it's probably going to take me like 30 hours. Okay. Now at that job that you applied for, that was paying $40 an hour. So I'm actually going to do the math because it's a lot cooler when you have the actual numbers. So like, oh, this project's going to take me 30 hours, and then the jobs that you're applying for pay $40 an hour. Right? So technically you're working just like you're working at a job, but you're working freelance. So just because it's you as like the front man of like this establishment that is your freelancing, you're still going to charge them how much you work, right? So if you work 30 hours on like the full UX process, and you know, average job for like your experience or whatever that you're applying for is $40, you charge them $1,200 for that project, right? That's how you're gonna charge them. Okay, don't overcomplicate it. Like, you have your flat rate, estimate how long it's gonna take. You know, if it takes you longer, dude, send an additional invoice saying that, you know, like additional fees for XYZ like feature. And if they're like, oh no, we don't want those additional charges, then like, okay, you don't do them. You have less on your plate. Cool. Scope of work, right? So charge for the work that you do. Okay, so when you're going through these freelance projects, go through the entire design process, the whole thing, A to Z. Do it. Don't skip a step, because this is all very crucial pieces to your portfolio. You realize that every single one of these things is going to go onto your portfolio. So don't skip anything, because this is what people are going to look at. This is how they're going to judge you on your processes and on your systems, right? So you're going to really focus and deeply understand why you are doing each of these processes. So don't do something and just say you did it. And now what I mean by this is, if you ever go into like a job interview or like an interview, and they pull up your portfolio and they start going through your case studies, right? And they're going to pull up examples. And then if you don't directly explain why you did a specific task or a specific thing inside of that project, like, why did you make the wireframes like this? You didn't explain how you got to this. You know, focus deeply into everything that you're doing, so that you have a reason you're doing making these design decisions, right? So if you're on a team and like you're a junior and like you have a bunch of seniors, they'd be able to guide you to say like, and like really probe and prod your brain and figure out like why you made this decision, and then like you could explain it to them, you know. But if you're freelancing and you're just kind of like doing this to get experience, do that for yourself. Do yourself a favor and really understand why you're doing something, so that you can actually explain it to somebody on why you did it. Okay, so document the whole experience. Like I said, every step that you go through, explain why you did it, how you did it, how you performed it, what were the results, what were the failures. Take pictures, take screenshots, you know, everything, right? Document it. So create a detailed case study for the entire project and put that bad boy in your portfolio. Exactly like I've been saying, you're going to put a very detailed case studies into your portfolio, because this limits the amount of question and confusion that people have when they look at your portfolio. The more detailed you are, you know, the less questions they have. And by documenting your entire process, you eliminate the guesswork, and you have all the detail right there, right up front in front of you. And then update your resume with the freelance work that you've done. like the little side tangent I had earlier. When you do a project, when you have a freelance client, you document that entire process, the entire journey. You put that into your portfolio. You make it awesome, you make it fantastic, you make it detailed, you make it just a perfect like top featured piece, right? And now you take that work and you take that client and their business and you put that into your resume as work experience. Don't mention that this was a freelance project. You were contracted by that company to do this project. That work, that business is contract work, right? If you go into LinkedIn, you're looking through the jobs, what are they going to have on there? They're going to have full-time, part-time, remote, and then they're going to have contract or temporary. They don't have freelance. Contract is short for freelance, dude. So you're going to put that into your resume as work experience, okay? Exactly. Don't write on your resume that you are a freelancer, that you're doing this project as a freelancer. You're doing this project as a contractor, as hired for this project contractor, okay? You're gonna put down the actual business that you did the work for onto your resume. You build a product for a company and you should document that on your resume. Like I've got way ahead of myself. I covered this. Okay, so all your freelance projects are job experience for a company, so put that on your resume. Exactly like I've said several times repeatedly, I just got way ahead of the slides. So yeah, instead of getting a UX UI design internship that there's like you got a pretty good chance that they're going to try to make it unpaid, right? You get paid in experience, you get paid in mentorship, whatever. There is alternatives to this. And if you just got out of boot camp, you just got out of college, or you just learned design and you're trying to kind of tackle this whole entire process of getting a job and finding work with it, don't settle for just an internship, dude. Find freelance work. Come up with your own work. There's so many resources, and like you just need a little bit of imagination and you'll be able to create a project, create a business, throw that into your resume, get a client and do freelance work with that client and throw that into your resume. Throw that as job experience and into your portfolio. Like there's no reason to have just the projects that you did in your boot camp or not have any projects at all, whatever, in your portfolio. There's no reason to have no job experience in your resume, because there are ways to get all of those very, very easily. You just have to be creative with them. You just have to critically, think for yourself about these things. Just go through like the thought of the thought of freelancing. To a lot of people, freelancing is, you're doing little jobs, little tasks for a business that somebody's, hiring you for or paying you for, right? And that's what most people take it for. You take it for just that face value. Oh, I'm a freelancer. Don't think like that, because you're literally just devaluing yourself. You're not putting enough value and emphasis on what you're actually doing. Think about what you are doing. Think about the projects that you are doing. Just process it. Are you really doing just freelance work? Are you really just doing your own random, side project? Or are you creating something? Are you helping a business, develop their website or their app or their software? Just really understand what you're doing and just capitalize on it. Take advantage of it. Really just use that, as a humongous push in the right direction, or a slingshot. You're catapulting in front of your competition by just thinking through what you're doing. Okay. So hope you guys enjoyed this, got some value, learned something. Yeah. So my name is Aaron Houghton, and this is the UX Disruption Radio. Take care, you guys.